In the not-too-distant future, humanity's fascination with weaponry culminated in the construction of the most massive and deadly arsenal ever conceived. This era of unprecedented militarization was marked by the unveiling of the Omega Array, a colossal space station orbiting Earth, bristling with an array of planet-killing weaponry. The Omega Array represented the pinnacle of human engineering, a testament to mankind's ability to harness the raw power of the universe. Admiral Nathaniel Huxley, the mastermind behind the Omega Array, stood in the observation deck, gazing out at the Earth below. His face, etched with the lines of countless sleepless nights, reflected the burden of his creation. Beside him, Commander Jenna Orlov, his trusted second-in-command, monitored the final system checks. "All systems are green, Admiral," Jenna reported, her voice steady but tinged with underlying tension. "Good," Huxley replied, his eyes still fixed on the planet below. "The Federation won't ignore this." As if on cue, an alert flashed across the command console. A message from the Galactic Federation, the interstellar coalition of alien civilizations, appeared on the screen. It was a broadcast from Ambassador Ryloth, a figure known for his diplomatic yet stern demeanor. "People of Earth," Ryloth began, his alien features bathed in the soft glow of the holographic projection. "The Galactic Federation has observed your increasing militarization with growing concern. The construction of the Omega Array is a clear act of aggression. We demand the immediate dismantling of this weapon and a reduction in your military activities. Failure to comply will result in severe consequences." The room fell silent as the message ended. Huxley turned to his officers, his expression resolute. "Prepare our response," he commanded. "We will not be intimidated." On the other side of the galaxy, the Galactic Federation's council convened in a vast, ornate chamber. Representatives from various alien species gathered, their faces reflecting a mix of anger and apprehension. High Commander Zahra, a seasoned warrior with a deep sense of honor, spoke first. "Earth's defiance cannot go unchallenged," Zahra declared, his voice resonating through the chamber. "They have built a weapon capable of annihilating entire worlds. We must act now before it is too late." The council members murmured in agreement. Ambassador Ryloth, ever the diplomat, raised a hand for silence. "Let us not rush into war," Ryloth urged. "There may still be a chance for diplomacy, but we must be prepared for the worst." With that, the stage was set for an inevitable confrontation. The Galactic Federation began mobilizing its fleets, while Earth fortified its defenses. The countdown to conflict had begun, and the galaxy braced for the storm to come. The Galactic Federation's fleet, a vast armada of sleek and advanced starships, moved into position at the edge of the Sol system. The sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying, a testament to the Federation's technological prowess and its readiness for war. On board the flagship, the Seraphim, High Commander Zahra reviewed the battle plans with his senior officers. "We will give them one final chance to surrender," Zahra stated, his tone leaving no room for doubt. "But if they refuse, we will show no mercy." Back on Earth, the Terran Republic's leaders gathered in the war room, a high-tech command center buried deep beneath the surface. President Eleanor Hayes, a steely-eyed leader known for her unwavering resolve, addressed her advisors. "The Federation's fleet has arrived," she announced, her voice carrying the weight of the situation. "They've issued an ultimatum: dismantle the Omega Array or face their full military might." General Marcus Thorne, a battle-hardened veteran, slammed his fist on the table. "We can't back down now. To do so would show weakness." President Hayes nodded. "Agreed. But we must also consider the cost. If we go to war, billions could die." As the leaders debated, a holographic image of Ambassador Ryloth appeared in the center of the room. "People of Earth," Ryloth began, his tone measured and calm, "this is your final warning. Dismantle the Omega Array and reduce your military activities, or the Galactic Federation will be forced to take action." President Hayes stepped forward, her expression defiant. "Ambassador Ryloth, we will not be bullied into submission. The Omega Array is our sovereign right to protect ourselves." Ryloth sighed, his features betraying a mix of sadness and resolve. Then you leave us no choice. The Federation will act to ensure the safety of the galaxy." With that, the hologram flickered and disappeared, leaving the room in tense silence. President Hayes turned to General Thorne. "Prepare our defenses," she ordered. "We must be ready for anything." The Galactic Federation's fleet began its advance towards Earth, a formidable force of warships and fighters. On board the Seraphim, High Commander Za'ara gave the order to initiate the blockade. "All units maintain formation," Za'ara commanded. "We must cut off their supply lines and weaken their defenses before the final assault." As the Federation's ships moved into position, Earth's defense fleet, led by Captain Jenna Orlov aboard the TSS Valkyrie, prepared to intercept. The tension in the air was palpable, the calm before the storm. Captain Orlov, a seasoned officer with a reputation for tactical brilliance, addressed her crew. "This is it, people. We hold the line here at all costs. The fate of Earth depends on us." The first shots were fired, marking the beginning of a brutal and relentless conflict. The Battle of Saul had begun, and both sides braced for the horrors of war. As the war raged on, the true cost of humanity's obsession with weaponry became painfully clear. The galaxy watched in horror as entire worlds were ravaged and countless lives were lost. Amidst the chaos, heroes would rise, alliances would be tested, and the future of humanity and the Galactic Federation would hang in the balance. Captain Jenna Orlov, commanding the TSS Valkyrie, stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. The Galactic Federation's fleet loomed on the screen, an imposing presence that dwarfed Earth's defensive forces. Her crew moved with practiced efficiency, preparing for the imminent clash. "Captain, all systems are ready," reported Lieutenant Marcus Lee, the Valkyrie's chief engineer. "Shields at maximum, weapons primed." "Thank you, Marcus," Jenna replied, her voice calm despite the tension. "All hands, brace for impact. The Federation's fleet is moving into range." The first volley of plasma torpedoes streaked through space, blazing a path toward the Valkyrie. Jenna watched as the ship's shields flared, absorbing the impact. She turned to her weapons officer, Lieutenant Sarah Chen. "Return fire, Lieutenant. Target their lead cruiser." "Aye, Captain," Sarah responded, her fingers dancing over the controls. The Valkyrie's railguns roared to life, sending kinetic projectiles hurtling toward the enemy. On the bridge of the Seraphim, High Commander Za'ara observed the battle with a mixture of admiration and resolve. Earth's forces were putting up a fierce resistance, their ships maneuvering with surprising agility. "Impressive," Za'ara murmured to his second-in-command, Commander Thalkor. "But they cannot hold out forever. Deploy the interceptors and focus on their flanking vessels." "Yes, High Commander," Thalkor replied, issuing the orders. The Federation's sleek interceptors launched from their carriers, darting toward the Valkyrie and her escorts. As the battle intensified, the Valkyrie found itself surrounded. Captain Orlov's strategic mind raced, seeking a way to break the encirclement. "Helm, execute evasive pattern Delta," she ordered. "Engage afterburners and prepare for close-quarters combat." The Valkyrie surged forward, weaving through the enemy formation with breathtaking speed. Her weapons fired in all directions, creating a dazzling display of light and destruction. Jenna's heart pounded as she directed the ship's movements, her crew responding with flawless coordination. Meanwhile, on the surface of Titan, General Marcus Thorne and his ground forces prepared for an anticipated Federation landing. The icy moon's rugged terrain provided natural defenses, but Thorne knew it wouldn't be enough. "Set up defensive perimeters around the research outposts," Thorne commanded. "We need to hold them off long enough for our fleet to regroup." Colonel Eric Voss, Thorne's right-hand man, nodded. "Understood, General. Our soldiers are ready." As the Federation's dropships descended through the thin atmosphere, Thorne steeled himself for the fight ahead. The siege of Titan would test the limits of human endurance and ingenuity, a brutal struggle for survival in the unforgiving cold. Back in orbit, the Valkyrie continued to dance through the battlefield, but the Federation's numbers were taking their toll. Captain Orlov knew they couldn't hold out much longer without reinforcements. "Status report, Lieutenant Lee," she called out, her voice strained but determined. "Shields at 40%, Captain. Hull integrity compromised in multiple sections," Marcus replied, his tone grim. Jenna clenched her fists. We need to buy more time. All ships, form up on the Valkyrie. We're making a break for Titan. The remnants of Earth's fleet rallied around the Valkyrie, their combined firepower creating a temporary reprieve from the onslaught. As they made their desperate dash toward Titan, Jenna prayed they could hold out long enough for Dr. Elisa Kim's breakthrough to turn the tide of the war. The barren, icy landscape of Titan provided a stark contrast to the fiery conflict unfolding above. General Marcus Thorne surveyed the terrain from his command post, his breath visible in the frigid air. The outposts scattered across the moon were vital research facilities, now hastily converted into fortresses. "Colonel Voss, status on the defenses?" Thorne inquired, his eyes never leaving the horizon. "Perimeters are secure, sir," Voss replied. "Our troops are dug in, and we've set up anti-aircraft batteries around the key installations." Thorne nodded. "Good. We'll need every advantage we can get. The Federation won't hold back." The ground trembled as the first wave of Federation dropships touched down, disgorging alien soldiers and war machines. The air filled with the sounds of battle as human and alien forces clashed in a brutal struggle for control. Inside one of the fortified outposts, Dr. Elisa Kim and her team worked feverishly on their dark matter project. The lab was a flurry of activity, with scientists and engineers collaborating under immense pressure. "We're close, but we need more time," Elisa muttered, her fingers flying over a control panel. "If we can stabilize the containment field, we can create a weapon that will make the Omega Array look like a child's toy." Her assistant, Dr. Rahul Peter, glanced nervously at the data. "Time is something we don't have much of, Elisa. The Federation's troops are getting closer." Elisa's eyes flashed with determination. "Then we'll have to work faster. Failure is not an option." On the front lines, General Thorne and his soldiers fought with a tenacity born of desperation. The Federation's advanced weaponry and tactics were formidable, but Earth's defenders were equally determined. Explosions rocked the battlefield as the two sides exchanged relentless fire. Thorne spotted a group of Federation soldiers advancing on a critical position. "Voss, take your squad and reinforce the eastern flank. We can't let them break through." Voss saluted and led his men into the fray, their movements precise and disciplined. The battle for Titan raged on, each side gaining and losing ground in a deadly dance. Above the moon, the Valkyrie and the remnants of Earth's fleet arrived, providing much-needed support. Captain Orlov's voice crackled over the comms. "General Thorne, this is Captain Orlov. We're in position and ready to assist. What's your status?" "Glad to have you, Captain," Thorne replied. "We're holding for now, but it's getting rough down here. Any chance you can give us some air support?" "On it," Jenna responded. "All fighters, form up and engage enemy ground forces. We need to take the pressure off our troops." The Valkyrie's fighters swooped down, strafing the Federation's positions and providing a brief respite for the beleaguered defenders. Jenna's tactical acumen and the Valkyrie's firepower were crucial in keeping the Federation at bay. As the siege dragged on, both sides suffered heavy losses. The cold, harsh environment of Titan took its toll on the combatants, but the determination of Earth's forces remained unshaken. Inside the research lab, Dr. Elisa Kim and her team finally achieved a breakthrough. "It's working," Elisa exclaimed, her eyes wide with excitement. "The containment field is stable. We can deploy the weapon." Dr. Peter smiled, relief evident on his face. "Let's hope it's enough to turn the tide." General Thorne received the news with a mixture of hope and caution. "Captain Orlov, Dr. Kim's team has completed the dark matter weapon. We need to get it to the front lines." "Understood, General," Jenna replied. "We'll provide cover for the transport. Let's finish this." As the dark matter weapon was deployed, its devastating power became evident. The Federation's forces reeled under the onslaught, their advanced technology no match for humanity's latest innovation. The tide of the battle began to turn, but the war was far from over. Deep within the underground research facility on Titan, Dr. Elisa Kim and her team marveled at the dark matter weapon's success. The energy readings were off the charts, and its destructive power had already made a significant impact on the battlefield. "Dr. Kim, this could change everything," Dr. Rahul Peter said, his eyes wide with a mix of awe and fear. Elisa nodded, her mind racing with the possibilities. "But we need to be cautious. This weapon could save us, but it could also be our undoing if it falls into the wrong hands. General Marcus Thorne's voice crackled over the comms. Dr. Kim, we need more of those weapons if we're going to stand a chance. Can you and your team replicate it quickly? Elisa took a deep breath. We'll do our best, General, but it will take time. This technology is incredibly volatile. Understood. Time is a luxury we don't have, but we'll do what we can to buy it for you, Thorne replied. Keep me updated on your progress. In orbit above Titan, the TSS Valkyrie continued to lead the defense of Earth's forces. Captain Jenna Orlov, her eyes locked on the tactical display, noticed a sudden shift in the Federation's tactics. Captain, the enemy is regrouping, Lieutenant Sarah Chen reported. It looks like they're preparing for a concentrated assault on our position. Jenna's mind raced. They're trying to overwhelm us before we can deploy more dark matter weapons. We can't let that happen. Lieutenant Lee, how are our shields holding up? Shields are at 60%, Captain, but they're taking a beating, Marcus Lee responded. We can't sustain this level of firepower for much longer. Jenna's expression hardened. All ships, focus your fire on the enemy's lead cruiser. We need to break their formation. As the Valkyrie and its escorts unleashed a barrage of firepower, the lead Federation cruiser shuddered under the assault. Explosions rippled across its hull, and the alien ship began to drift, its engines crippled. On the ground, Colonel Eric Voss led his squad through the chaotic battlefield. The dark matter weapon had given them a temporary advantage, but the Federation's forces were relentless. Voss, we need to hold this position at all costs, General Thorne's voice crackled over the comms. The scientists are working on replicating the weapon, but they need more time. We won't let you down, General, Voss replied, his voice resolute. Men, dig in and prepare for another wave. We can't let them break through. The soldiers fortified their positions, using the natural terrain to their advantage. As the next wave of Federation troops advanced, Voss and his squad held their ground, their determination unwavering. Inside the research facility, Dr. Kim and her team worked tirelessly, the pressure mounting with each passing moment. The delicate process of replicating the dark matter weapon required precision and focus. Careful with that containment field, Rahul, Elisa instructed, her eyes never leaving the console. One mistake, and this whole place could go up in flames. Dr. Peter nodded, his hands steady despite the high stakes. I know, Elisa. We're almost there. Just a few more adjustments. The room was tense, the only sounds the hum of machinery and the rapid tapping of keys. Finally, the containment field stabilized, and the second dark matter weapon was complete. We did it, Elisa breathed, a mixture of relief and exhaustion washing over her. General Thorne, the second weapon is ready for deployment. Excellent work, Dr. Kim, Thorne replied. We'll get it to the front lines immediately. This could be the turning point we've been waiting for. As the dark matter weapon was deployed to the battlefield, its devastating power once again tipped the scales in humanity's favor. The Federation's forces, caught off guard by the sudden shift, began to falter. Captain Orlov watched the tactical display with a mixture of hope and determination. All ships, press the attack. We have the momentum now. Let's finish this. The Valkyrie and its escorts surged forward, their weapons blazing as they tore through the Federation's fleet. The tide of the battle had turned, but the war was far from over. Amidst the chaos of war, political tensions on Earth reached a boiling point. The Terran Republic, deeply divided over the ongoing conflict, faced an internal crisis that threatened to undermine their efforts against the Galactic Federation. In the heart of the capital city, the Council of Earth convened in an emergency session. President Eleanor Hayes, her face etched with worry, addressed the assembly. Council members, we are facing an unprecedented threat, she began. Our scientists have developed a weapon that could turn the tide of this war, but the Federation's forces are relentless. We must stand united if we are to survive. Councilman Richard Hargrove, a vocal opponent of the war, stood up. Madam President, this war is tearing us apart. We should be negotiating for peace, not building more weapons. A murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber. President Hayes raised her hand for silence. Councilman Hargrove, the Federation gave us an ultimatum. We had no choice but to defend ourselves. Our survival depends on our ability to fight back. Hargrove's eyes blazed with conviction. Then let us seek a different path. There are those among us who believe that peace is still possible. I propose we initiate a dialogue with the Federation, offer a ceasefire, and dismantle the Omega Array as a gesture of goodwill." The room erupted in heated debate. The council members divided between those who supported Hargrove's proposal and those who stood with President Hayes. The political infighting threatened to fracture the Terran Republic at a critical moment. Meanwhile, in the shadows, Colonel Eric Voss met with a group of like-minded officers who shared his growing disillusionment with the war. "Eric, we can't keep doing this," Major Lydia Grant said, her voice filled with frustration. "Our leaders are sending us to die for a cause that may not be worth it. There has to be another way." Voss nodded, his expression grim. "I agree, Lydia. That's why I've been in contact with a faction within the Federation. They want peace just as much as we do. If we can broker a deal, we might be able to end this war without any more bloodshed." Grant looked skeptical. "And what about the dark matter weapons? Do you really think the Federation will just let us keep them?" Voss shook his head. "No, but we can negotiate terms. If we can convince our leaders to dismantle the Omega Array and agree to a mutual disarmament, we might have a chance." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden explosion. The facility shook as alarms blared and the lights flickered. Voss's comm unit crackled to life with General Thorne's urgent voice. "Colonel Voss, report to the command center immediately. We're under attack." As Voss and Grant rushed to the command center, the scale of the betrayal became clear. A faction within Earth's own forces had sabotaged the defenses, allowing Federation troops to breach the perimeter. General Thorne, his face a mask of fury, confronted Voss. "What the hell is going on, Colonel? How did they get through our defenses?" Voss met Thorne's gaze, his expression hardening. "Sir, there's a faction within our own ranks that wants peace. They believe this war is unjust and are willing to do whatever it takes to stop it." Thorne's eyes narrowed. "And you're one of them?" Voss hesitated for a moment before nodding. "Yes, sir. But this attack wasn't part of the plan. We wanted to negotiate, not sabotage." Thorne clenched his fists. "Negotiation? While we're being slaughtered? You've put us all at risk, Colonel. Get your men and secure the perimeter. We'll deal with this later." As the battle raged on, the lines between friend and foe blurred. The Federation's forces, aided by the saboteurs, pressed their advantage. Earth's defenders, now fighting on two fronts, struggled to hold their ground. In the chaos, Captain Jenna Orlov received a distress signal from the surface. "General Thorne, this is Valkyrie. We're detecting multiple breaches in your perimeter. Do you need support?" "Negative, Valkyrie," Thorne replied, his voice strained. "Focus on the Federation's fleet. We can handle things down here." Jenna's heart sank as she realized the full extent of the situation. The war was spiraling out of control, and the betrayal from within threatened to undo everything they had fought for. As the dark matter weapon's power was unleashed once more, the battlefield became a maelstrom of destruction. The cost of humanity's obsession with weaponry was becoming painfully clear, and the path to victory seemed more uncertain than ever. While humanity grappled with its internal conflicts and the relentless assault of the Galactic Federation, a parallel struggle unfolded within the Federation's ranks. The Galactic Council, a body of representatives from various alien species, was as divided as their human counterparts. High Commander Zara, a seasoned warrior of the Zorani race, stood before the council, his presence commanding the room. The council chamber, an awe-inspiring structure of glass and luminescent crystals, buzzed with tension. "We cannot allow Earth to continue its aggressive militarization," Zara declared, his voice echoing through the chamber. "The Omega Array and their dark matter weapons are a threat to the entire galaxy." Ambassador Ryloth, the voice of reason and diplomacy, interjected. "And yet, High Commander, the cost of this war has been staggering. Countless lives lost on both sides. We must consider the possibility of peace." The debate raged on, with factions within the council arguing for continued military action, while others pushed for diplomatic solutions. Among them was Counselor Vera, a representative of the Thalasians, a water-dwelling species known for their pacifist ideals. "We must find a way to end this conflict without further bloodshed. Vera urged. Our intelligence reports indicate that there are elements within Earth's government seeking peace. We should reach out to them. Zara's eyes narrowed. And if they refuse, if they continue to wield their destructive weapons, we cannot afford to be naive, Counselor Vera. The safety of our worlds is at stake. As the council deliberated, High Commander Zara received a private message from one of his trusted officers, Lieutenant Kale. The message was brief but urgent, evidence of a potential coup within Earth's ranks, led by Colonel Eric Voss. Zara's mind raced as he considered the implications. A faction within the Terran Republic seeking peace could be the leverage the Federation needed to bring about a ceasefire. He decided to act swiftly. Lieutenant Kale, prepare a stealth team, Zara ordered. We will make contact with Colonel Voss and see if we can use this to our advantage. Back on Earth, the political situation grew increasingly unstable. President Eleanor Hayes faced mounting pressure from both the military and peace factions within the council. The discovery of the sabotage on Titan had only deepened the divide. In a secure meeting room, President Hayes confronted Councilman Richard Hargrove and his supporters. Your actions have jeopardized our entire defense strategy, Councilman. We cannot afford this kind of infighting. Hargrove remained defiant. Madam President, continuing this war will lead to our destruction. We must explore every avenue for peace, even if it means negotiating with the Federation directly. Before the argument could escalate further, an urgent message from General Thorne interrupted. Madam President, we have a situation on Titan. A Federation envoy has arrived under a flag of truce. They claim to have information that could change the course of the war. High Commander Zara and his stealth team, accompanied by Lieutenant Kale, arrived at the agreed meeting point on Titan. The cold, desolate landscape provided an eerie backdrop for the high-stakes negotiations. Colonel Eric Voss, flanked by a small group of his loyal officers, stepped forward. High Commander Zara, I am Colonel Eric Voss of the Terran Republic. I believe we share a common goal, ending this war. Zara studied Voss, his alien eyes unreadable. You speak of peace, Colonel, but your people have shown nothing but aggression. Why should we trust you? Voss took a deep breath. Because we are not all united in this war. There are those of us who believe in a different path. I am willing to negotiate terms for a ceasefire and mutual disarmament. We can start by dismantling the Omega Array. Zara's expression softened slightly. And the dark matter weapons? They are too dangerous for either side to wield, Voss admitted. We will work together to neutralize them, but we need assurances that the Federation will honor this truce. The two leaders stood in silence for a moment, the weight of their decisions pressing heavily upon them. Finally, Zara extended his hand, a gesture of trust. Very well, Colonel Voss. Let us see if we can bring an end to this madness. The fragile alliance between Colonel Voss and High Commander Zara marked a turning point in the conflict. As news of the truce spread, both human and alien soldiers began to hope for an end to the bloodshed. But the path to peace was fraught with peril, and the true test of their resolve was yet to come. With the tentative truce between Colonel Voss and High Commander Zara, there was a glimmer of hope for an end to the war. However, not everyone was ready to embrace peace. Hardliners on both sides saw the truce as a betrayal and were determined to see the conflict through to its bitter end. In the heart of the Sol system, the final preparations for the decisive battle were underway. Fleet Admiral Sofia Reyes, the newly appointed commander of Earth's forces, stood on the bridge of the flagship TSS Resolute. Her face was set in a grim expression as she addressed her officers. Admiral, the Federation fleet is on the move, reported Captain Daniel Mercer. They're massing near Jupiter. Reyes nodded. Prepare all units for engagement. We can't afford to underestimate them. This is it, people. The fate of Earth hangs in the balance. High Commander Zara, aboard the Seraphim, prepared his own forces for the upcoming clash. The truce with Colonel Voss was a delicate matter, and not all of the Federation's commanders were willing to honor it. Commander Thalkor, ensure that our forces maintain formation, Zara ordered. We must be ready for any eventuality. The humans are unpredictable. Yes, High Commander, Thalkor replied, his eyes scanning the tactical displays. As the fleets moved into position, The tension in the void of space was palpable. The battle for Sol was about to begin. On the surface of Titan, General Marcus Thorne received an urgent communication from Colonel Voss. "General, the Federation is preparing for a full-scale assault. We need to coordinate our efforts to hold the line." Thorne's jaw tightened. "Understood, Colonel. We'll do our part. But know this, if you or your Federation allies betray us, there will be no forgiveness." Voss nodded, his expression serious. "I understand, General, but we must try, for the sake of all our people." The first salvos of the battle were exchanged in the dark expanse of space, the vacuum punctuated by brilliant flashes of energy weapons and explosions. The TSS Resolute led Earth's fleet into the fray, its railguns and missile batteries unleashing a relentless barrage. "All ships, maintain defensive formations," Admiral Reyes commanded. "We need to protect the carriers and their fighter wings." The Federation's ships responded with their own firepower, sleek interceptors weaving through the chaos to strike at vulnerable targets. The Seraphim's advanced weaponry tore through Earth's defenses, but the human ships fought back with tenacity and ingenuity. Amidst the chaos, Captain Jenna Orlov and the crew of the Valkyrie found themselves at the center of the battle. The Valkyrie's advanced sensors and weapons made it a critical asset in the fight. "Captain, enemy ships closing in on our position," Lieutenant Sarah Chen reported. "We can't take much more of this." Jenna's eyes narrowed. "Helm, bring us about. Let's give our friends something to remember us by. All batteries, fire at will." The Valkyrie maneuvered with precision, its guns blazing as it cut through the enemy ranks. Jenna's leadership and the crew's skill turned the tide in their sector, but the battle was far from won. On the ground, the siege of Titan continued with brutal intensity. Federation troops, supported by their advanced war machines, pressed their assault on the human defenses. General Thorne and his soldiers fought with everything they had, knowing that the fate of the war could be decided here. "Hold the line," Thorne shouted over the din of battle. "We can't let them break through." Colonel Voss and his faction of peaceseekers fought alongside Thorne's forces, their unity in the face of a common enemy, a testament to the fragile hope for a truce. As the battle raged on, High Commander Zara received a distress signal from one of his forward units. "High Commander, we've lost contact with the 7th Fleet. They were ambushed by human reinforcements." Zara's mind raced. "Order all units to regroup. We can't afford to be divided, and prepare the Seraphim for a direct assault. We need to take out their command ship." The Seraphim's engines roared to life as it surged toward the TSS Resolute. The two flagships, symbols of their respective factions' power, closed in on each other, their weapons locked and ready. Inside the TSS Resolute, Admiral Reyes knew the stakes had never been higher. "All hands, brace for impact. We're going head-to-head with the Seraphim." The two ships collided in a furious exchange of firepower, the void of space lighting up with the intensity of their battle. The fate of the Sol system, and perhaps the galaxy, hung in the balance as the battle for Sol reached its climax. With the fate of humanity and the Federation on the line, both sides fought with a ferocity born of desperation and hope. The battle for Sol was a crucible, a test of resolve and unity, and its outcome would shape the future of both civilizations. The void of space was a cacophony of light and destruction as the TSS Resolute and the Seraphim engaged in their climactic duel. On board the Resolute, Fleet Admiral Sophia Reyes stood resolute, her mind sharp with the clarity of battle. "Target their main weapons array," Reyes commanded, her voice unwavering. "We need to cripple them before they do the same to us." Captain Daniel Mercer relayed the order, and the Resolute's railguns unleashed a devastating barrage. Explosions rippled across the Seraphim's hull, but the alien ship responded with its own salvo, shaking the Resolute to its core. "Admiral, shields are failing," Lieutenant Harper called out. "We can't take much more of this." Reyes's jaw tightened. "Divert all available power to the forward shields and prepare to launch the boarding pods. If we can't beat them from here, we'll take the fight to their ship." High Commander Zahra, aboard the Seraphim, felt the ship shudder under the relentless assault. He turned to Commander Thalkor, his eyes filled with determination. "Prepare for a counterattack," Zahra ordered, And get me a direct line to the human flagship. I want to speak with their commander." Moments later, a holographic image of Admiral Reyes appeared before Zara. The two leaders locked eyes, each recognizing the gravity of the moment. "Admiral Reyes," Zara began, his tone measured, "this battle serves no purpose but to prolong our suffering. Let us end this senseless conflict." Reyes's eyes narrowed. "And what do you propose, High Commander? Surrender?" Zara shook his head. "A truce. We cease hostilities and work together to dismantle the Omega Array and the dark matter weapons. Our continued conflict will only lead to mutual destruction." Reyes considered his words, the weight of command pressing heavily upon her. "Very well, High Commander. We'll stand down if you do the same. But know this: any treachery, and we will not hesitate to fight to the last." "Agreed," Zara replied, his gaze unwavering. "For the sake of our people, we will honor this truce." As the order to cease fire spread through both fleets, the chaos of battle gradually subsided. Ships on both sides disengaged, and the realization of the truce began to sink in. There was a collective sigh of relief, but also an undercurrent of uncertainty. On Titan, General Marcus Thorne and Colonel Eric Voss received the news with cautious optimism. The ground battle had been brutal, but the truce offered a chance to save lives and work toward a lasting peace. "General Thorne, the Federation forces are standing down," Voss reported. "Looks like the truce is holding for now." Thorne nodded. "Good. Let's make sure it stays that way. Have your men coordinate with the Federation troops to secure the perimeter and begin disarmament procedures." Captain Jenna Orloff, aboard the Valkyrie, monitored the situation with a mixture of relief and wariness. The battle might be over, but the path to peace was still fraught with challenges. "Captain, incoming transmission from the Resolute," Lieutenant Sarah Chen reported. Jenna nodded. "Put it through." Admiral Reyes's voice came over the comms. "Captain Orloff, we're standing down. The truce is in effect. Begin coordinating with the Federation ships for mutual disarmament." "Acknowledged, Admiral," Jenna replied. "We'll proceed with caution. Valkyrie out." As the crew of the Valkyrie began their new mission, Jenna couldn't shake the feeling that the hardest part was yet to come. The battle for peace would require as much courage and resolve as the war itself. With the truce in effect, both human and Federation forces began the arduous process of disarmament and rebuilding. On Earth, President Eleanor Hayes addressed the Terran Republic in a broadcast that reached every corner of the globe. "People of Earth," President Hayes began, her voice steady but solemn, "we have reached a turning point in our conflict with the Galactic Federation. Through courage and sacrifice, we have secured a truce, but this is only the beginning. The path to lasting peace will require unity, trust, and cooperation." The broadcast was met with mixed reactions. Some celebrated the end of hostilities, while others remained skeptical of the Federation's intentions. The divisions within the Terran Republic were far from healed. High Commander Zara and Colonel Eric Voss stood side by side on Titan, overseeing the dismantling of the Omega Array. The massive structure, once a symbol of Earth's military might, now stood as a testament to the potential for reconciliation. "This is just the first step," Voss said quietly. "There will be resistance on both sides. People who can't let go of the past." Zara nodded. "True, but we must lead by example. Show them that cooperation is possible, even after all the bloodshed." In the heart of the Sol system, the TSS Resolute and the Seraphim floated side by side, their crews working together to deactivate the remaining dark matter weapons. Admiral Reyes and High Commander Zara met face-to-face for the first time, their mutual respect evident despite the scars of battle. "Admiral Reyes," Zara greeted, extending his hand. "A pleasure to meet you under less hostile circumstances." Reyes shook his hand firmly. "High Commander Zara, let's hope this is the beginning of a new era for both our peoples." Captain Jenna Orloff and her crew aboard the Valkyrie played a crucial role in facilitating communication and trust between the two sides. The once war-torn ship now symbolized the potential for unity. "Captain, incoming message from the Federation flagship," Lieutenant Chen reported. "Put it through," Jenna replied. The screen flickered to life, showing a Federation officer. "Captain Orloff, We have completed the disarmament of our forward bases. Your assistance has been invaluable. Thank you, Jenna said. We look forward to continuing our work together. Valkyrie out. On Earth, Dr. Elisa Kim and her team turned their attention from weapon development to rebuilding. The dark matter technology, once a harbinger of destruction, was repurposed for peaceful applications, providing a new energy source to help rebuild war-torn cities and infrastructure. Dr. Rahul Peter approached Elisa with a smile. We've done it, Elisa. The first dark matter energy grid is online. This could change everything. Elisa nodded, her eyes filled with hope. It's a start, Rahul. Let's make sure our work benefits everyone, not just those in power. As the months passed, the initial skepticism and mistrust began to give way to a cautious optimism. Joint human and Federation efforts to rebuild and heal the wounds of war laid the foundation for a new era of cooperation. President Hayes and Ambassador Ryloth signed a historic agreement, formally ending hostilities and establishing a framework for future collaboration. The signing ceremony, broadcast across the galaxy, marked a momentous occasion. Today, we begin a new chapter, President Hayes declared. One where we choose to build bridges instead of walls, where we choose peace over war. The price of victory had been steep, with countless lives lost and entire worlds scarred by the conflict. But the lessons learned from the war were etched deeply into the collective consciousness of both humanity and the Galactic Federation. As the galaxy moved forward, the story of the conflict between Earth and the Federation became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the destructive potential when humanity builds too many giant fucking guns. The path to lasting peace would be long and difficult, but the first steps had been taken, and hope had been rekindled. In the end, it was not the might of weapons, but the strength of unity and the courage to change that would determine the future of both civilizations.